Everybody's working today, some shape or form. So, all right. We're all working. We're trying. We're trying.
In some shape or some capacity.
Guys, go ahead.
What do you guys, I heard some of the players talking yesterday, the turf maybe a little slick up there, stuff like that. What do you guys know about this? It's been a while since y'all been up there.
It's been a while since we've been there. I don't remember that. I mean, I've been there 10 times, because I was at the Bears for 9. And, but I don't remember the field being that slippery, but you do see it on tape. When you watch the tape, you see guys getting their feet outside the frame of the body and they slip out a little bit. So we just have to be conscious of, where our footing, keep our feet up underneath our body. That's our coaching point.
You're a big weather guy, of course. Checking the weather. It
Yeah.
looks like maybe some.
It could be, like they said, the last I heard was, rain during the day and possible snow, and then it'll clear up by kickoff time. So that's, it's going to be cool.
You've been there that many times. I'm sure you've got some bad weather ones up there. What's
No
the worst
question.
you've seen?
Very, very cold, windy, almost unbearable, but the Chicago was just as bad sometimes, so it's very similar.
What, if any, upside can Echo maybe provide your unit?
Yeah, I mean, we're glad we got him on the 53. He provides a lot of speed. That's probably the number one thing that you have with him. He plays a lot of obviously the speed position, gunner, corner for us. Hopefully he's up. If he's up, then we'll use him.
What are your overall thoughts right now just about your returners and what you kind of foresee right now? I know it's been mixing and matching.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, we've had some injuries, obviously, with McCall. We planned on using McCall, obviously, but then that changed, and 19 got in there, and he provided a spark. And he's probably our most dynamic guy. I mean, it's easy to say that now, seeing what he can do. But he was banged up last week, and I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to use him. Richie's back in the mix, so Richie I felt good about before he got hurt early in the year. So it'll be Richie James. That's where we're at right now.
Are you a superstitious guy?
Yes.
Is Harrison?
I don't want to talk about it. No, I'm not that bad. No, I just think he's doing well, and he's in a groove right now. We just keep it rolling. I don't want to talk about numbers or anything like that. It's solid right now. I mean, the protection's good, snap hold good, kick's good.
Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong or saying you're wrong. We've got to practice. In fact, the balls are fluttering a little bit differently when you're doing kickoff or punt return sort of stuff. Did you guys have a different?
Buckers kicks.
No, just off the machine. Have you changed anything up with kickoffs or punt and to start with? The balls usually spiral when they come down.
Well, because one day we're kicking kickoff return, and those are end over end. The jugs is able to change, so it's able to kick kickoffs or punts. When it's punts, it'll turn over. So that's the difference.
It mixes it up to get the guys a different way.
Yeah, to make it even simpler, on Wednesday we do kickoffs, and on Thursday we do punt returns. So.
Do you ever look at the numbers? I know, like where Harrison is. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about his career numbers and everything. Are you one that's a motivator?
At the end of the year, we always, you look back at that stuff, but I really don't talk about it, with him. I mean, I just want him. He's in a good place right now, and just want to keep it there.
Guys are kicking over 90% now. I mean, what's been the biggest change to? I remember 80% used to be.
Yes, I mean, and no question. I mean, there's no question that the kickers and punters have gotten better over the years. That's why all the rules are changing, catching the ball inside the 10, and all those things are changing because the kickers and punters are so good, and they just keep getting better and better every year, just like the athletes get better. The corners and safeties and wideouts get faster, and it's the same thing's happened with the kickers and punters.
They're bigger now, right? Like
They're bigger, yeah. I mean, this week we're playing a 6'5" guy and a 6'3" guy. I mean, those are their guys. I mean, they're taller than Bucker, and Bucker's one of the biggest. So, they're bigger type guys that can bang the ball, and It's impressive.
Is that the biggest thing you think, that the athleticism is? like,
Yeah, I think
real-
the athleticism, and the skill level in college, they're learning, coaches are learning more, and the development of the kickers, it's getting way beyond, there's camps that these guys go to, and all that stuff really helps.
Into the first half, you guys were pinned back on a kickoff. Can you just speak through that play? Jack making a big tackle after the Watson penalty.
Oh, yeah. First of all, it starts with Bucker. I mean, kicking off from the 20, he kicks a huge kick all the way down to the 5-yard line with hang time. Gave us a chance to get down the field. It's a 100% return situation there. So we talked about that in the huddle, and those guys really did a good job. Jack, in particular, beat his man, got out, and made it so where he couldn't bounce or hit it up the middle. And that was a great tackle, solo tackle.
Last one, Matt.
Coach, you talked about Richie a little bit. His kick return kind of got everything going in the second quarter.
Yeah.
I know you were excited about him back in camp. Now you finally have him back. How good is it to have him back?
Yeah, it's good to have him back because he can do both. He's a guy that I depend on. He's a solid catcher. I think he's going to keep getting better. I mean, we're into return. I always tell you guys, this is return season now. We got 5 cold games in a row coming up here, starting with Green Bay, and it's, we're going to get a lot of returns. We're going to get the ball kicked to us. Squib kicks could happen. And then we got to cover kicks too. So, if Bucker can't hit a touchback, I mean, they're going to try to return it, particularly this team, because they have the green light to come out. I mean, Nixon is excellent. He'll come out 5, 8 deep sometimes, so, we have to be ready for that. But, yeah, we're excited that Richie's, back and in the fold and healthy and good to go.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Somebody,
Important ones are here.
yeah, that's exactly right. I'm happy to be with the ones that are here. And with that, I'll open it up. How's that? I don't really have any, go ahead.
Hey, Steve, I just wonder how you've seen Drew develop the last
Yeah.
month or so.
I tell you, to me, that might be one thing that goes unnoticed. I think the guys as a group are playing really well, except for that beginning quarter of the last game, right? I still can't forget that. But what I think gets lost in the whole translation here is that, we lost a really good football player in Nick Bolton for a number of games here. And yet, I think I've said this before, we've slid Drew in there and really haven't skipped a beat in terms of, having to cut things back, communication, the back, you guys know that the back end and linebackers, they gotta be like this, the chemistry, and we didn't lose that at all. And sometimes that happens. I mean, I've been down that road before with a Mike linebacker who's been the communicator and the signal caller. We've lost them, and it takes a little while, but we didn't skip a beat with Drew. We're really fortunate we got him. I mean, Brett Veach and his crew identifying him as a player we could get, and then him being willing to come here and knowing that, we had a lot of linebackers, but he's a team guy. I know his teammates love him, and I love what he's doing for us, so I can't say enough about Drew.
Do you see growth in like run fits or understanding what he's doing, that sort of thing?
Listen, I haven't had Drew but this year, and immediately when he got here, I could see a cerebral player. and he plays really fast. Like, he is fast physically, but he plays fast. He reacts to things really well. I think he's developed in all facets of it. The most impressive thing to me has been that you can give a guy that much volume in the first year in any system, and he's kind of excelled. He hasn't gone backwards. That's been the impressive thing to me.
Steve, so many of the guys who were playing for you this year were drafted by the Chiefs, and some of them in lower rounds.
Yeah.
I mean, is it remarkable to you how you guys have seemed to hit on so many of your defensive draft picks, even guys who aren't first or second round guys?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't typically think of that in terms until it's brought up, and then then I think about it a little bit now. But I will say this, it's really good work in identifying some characteristics that we look for, and then I think it's really good development by coaches and teachers that are here developing those guys. I mean, if somebody's getting drafted lower and assuming the whole NFL world is accurate, that that's a lower round draft pick, and that person becomes something that we didn't think, then somebody's doing something right. I'm talking about the coaching and the developments of it. So our assistant coaches, I think, are doing a great job. But it began with Brett Veach and his staff identifying guys that, and the great thing about Brett is that he is always communicating with us on what do you need, what fits for you, what kind of characteristics you're looking for. And that's been like that from the beginning. That's why I think he's one of the best in the business, because the collaboration with players is terrific.
So what's different about how you guys do things here than maybe you've done it other places?
Well, our side of the ball has been the same wherever I've been, because that's just what I believe in. And I know Andy believes in the same thing, that we're really just teachers. And we've always identified good teachers. I'm talking about the guys that we hire as coaches. And I think that we have that. I know Coach Reid has always expressed that in guys that he's brought in here. That's the number one thing he's looking for. And I don't think we ever get away from, as a head coach, as coordinators, we ever get away from pounding the details and the fundamentals. It's not all about scheme. It's more about all that stuff that we're talking about. And then I think that leads to the development of players.
What about Felix? How's he coming?
I think Felix is doing well. I know we're not seeing the numbers, and I talked with Felix the other day. He's got a bunch of guys in front of him that are playing pretty good, and that's kind of just what happened in his rookie year. But at some point here, we don't want anybody to get hurt, but he's going to be called upon at some point to have to. He didn't have very many plays last week. One sticks out that he did really, really good on, and then one he didn't do really good on. And he knows that. But he's going to learn. I see him correct things. Like, I've seen mistakes he's made, and whether it's in practicing games, and I see him get it corrected out on the field. So we'll just hope he keeps doing that.
I mean, are you comfortable with him in a bigger role if you see?
If it happened, yeah, we'd slot him right in there. We wouldn't hesitate to stick him in there if we had to. But I do think the guys there that are playing right now have been doing a pretty good job.
The second drive, the Raiders came down, they had a 4th and 1 at the 12, they
Yeah.
wanted the field goal, they missed it. A few years ago, maybe like when the Cincinnati, I can't remember if it was here or there, but they kind of hit you with a bunch of 4th downs, and it was kind of new. Now we're 4 years down the road, 3 years down the road. That's not new. Were you surprised they didn't, with the success that they had? And it's not like the game turned because the big run came after that on the next drive, but were you a little surprised?
I mean, if I look at it from their point of view, if I'm over there with Antonio, I mean, that's a 50-50 call, right? Try to get to 10-0, or try to, if you don't get it, I don't know. Listen, that's purely probably a gut call. Now, were we prepared for them to go? Yeah. Go for it? Yeah, we were prepared for that. And then when he didn't, you just line up and hope he misses it. But that's a pretty good field goal kicker. I don't think anybody expected him to miss it. But.
And then kind of along the lines of what Adam was talking about, what you guys do that's maybe different, personnel-wise. Herm Edwards once said, he called Dale Carter back in the day my guy. And Marty went to him and said, he's your guy. You make sure he's doing everything right. He's not getting in trouble. Kind of like he said, you can have 2 my guys on a team.
Oh, two guys that might stray, but you got to make sure they don't. Yeah, right.
You have a philosophy on?
Listen, my philosophy on that is I do think sometimes guys get knocked too far one way on a lack of character thing. Like I just believe you need to identify football character, right? And guys that are passionate about the game of football. I just think if they're passionate about the game of football and it's really important to them, that they'll do the other things to make sure that they're still able to play. And listen, guys make mistakes as young. We all did, right? I think you really got to identify the why somebody might be tabbed as a, you know, a lack of character. Because I'm sorry, but I will say this, and I'm not going to say who they are, but I can go back and think of draft boards, and these names were slid over here. Okay, we're not going to touch them. You know, fast forward 4 years later, and somehow, some way, I've either changed jobs and we get that person. This happened, and it was like, and after being with them for 3 or 4 months, it's like, wow, that's not the person that we thought. You know what I mean? So, I think you're able to work with anybody and everybody if they're passionate about what they're doing.
Seems like you guys are catching Jordan Love when he's really starting to play well, figure things out. What have you seen maybe in recent weeks from his tape?
I've seen a lot of progress, but I will say this, even when we played him in 2021 in that game, I was impressed with him coming out of that game. I never thought he got rattled. You know, we played really well defensively, and we had some success, and they scored the one at the end. I give him a lot of credit for that. But I came out of that game saying that he had something that you really couldn't rattle him. I thought we could, and I've seen him progress through that. And now I think they're kind of hitting a stride. I was telling our defensive back group this yesterday. Their wide receiver core is a little bit like our defensive backs were last year. Everybody was saying they were young and they were rookies, like they're 1 or 2 year guys, right? And as the season went, and that's what that crew's doing, the quarterback and the wideouts. I think as the season has gone on, they get better and better.
I want to ask you one about the game last week. Chris Jones said after the game that he was like, on the 4th down play, maybe he didn't do exactly what he's supposed to do, but it worked out.
The short one? Or
yeah, the short one, and then we asked about it yesterday. He said you guys hadn't gone over the tape, and I was just wondering if, because he was worried that you might be angry that he did the wrong thing.
No, he actually did the right thing. I don't know why he thought he did it wrong. Sometimes he thinks he does it wrong, and he's actually doing it right. No, I thought him and Derek got off the ball really well, which allowed Drew actually to come free and get in the backfield and get the negative play. I didn't give him a minus on that, so he must have done something right. He might have been thinking of a different play. I don't know.
Steve, I want to ask you, last couple of weeks, Leo, you've had him kind of late rotate. Just how does that help you guys?
What do you mean late
rotate?
rotate?
Right when snap, like
Oh.
you know, the offense line taps, and then you kind of change the picture up on the offense, where you have guys kind of change the front up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of pride and spend a lot of time working on pre-snap looks. And a lot of guys do it, not just Leo. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. I mean, you can get caught the other way, too, on that, and get caught moving in a different direction. But that is part of some things that we do, and Leo's probably done a little bit of it. I'm thinking of the plays that you're thinking of. I think sometimes he does that on his own, too, which is good. We tell those guys sometimes, you know, on certain calls, just a little independent movement, and they do it on their own.
Steve, you had, last week the team was down 14-0.
Right.
And it seemed like Jacoby and Devontae, they were going off a little bit, right? What do you tell those guys on the
Yeah.
side?
Well, I can tell you, we rallied up there over on the sideline at one point, and I had a list of about 5 or 6 things that happened on 5 or 6 key plays, and they were all, 2 or 3 of them were things that we had worked on, and we didn't do it like we did it in practice. And I just felt like, my point was, is if you could just clean these up, you know, we won't be in the situation we're in. We got to grind our way back. And to the guys' credit, I thought they did that. We kind of got back, you know, mentally. We had a couple of things that should have been handled a certain way and weren't, and we had done it in practice. It wasn't something that was new to them. So they shook it off, got the cobwebs out, and we got it right.
Around a team where they put a switch, you could just
It's not easy to do always, but one thing that we always say, we talk about this, I almost always talk about it on a Saturday night. We believe that even when we get down, we should remain steadfast as a defensive unit and trust that we have a guy on the other side of the ball, namely, you know, the coach and all the players, when I'm talking about Patrick, right, that can always find a way to score some points. So we should hopefully never be out of a game, even if we faltered early, and we've lived by that.
Last one, Matt.
Coach, kind of a similar question, but did you learn something about your group, still a young group, that can be resilient in that
I
moment?
did. Tuesday in our meeting, I'm trying to remember exactly how I listed it, but, you know, I learned that, I mean, I said to them, I hope we've learned that when you're not on top of things mentally and doing like you practice, that you can get beat. And then I also hope you guys learn that when we're down as a group, we're pretty good at rallying together, being gritty, you know, showing a little bit of character. And I think Now, nobody wants to go down 14 points and say we're going to win, but hopefully, if we face that again, at least you can fall back and say, hey, we've been here before. You know, let's do it the same way so we can use it. Okay? Thank you. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, fire away.
What are some examples of maybe something that you would trust Rasheed with, you know, at this stage of where he's at that you wouldn't have, maybe like in the beginning of the season?
Well, I'll start off with this with Rasheed, and I've said this going back to training camp is we joke about him drinking water through a fire hydrant, and I still kind of every day when I'm watching him grow and what he's doing, start with that. Like where do you line up, right? Where do you line up? Where are you supposed to go? If you can eliminate that thinking part, number one, it's a start. But within the play and routes, there's specific routes where, and a lot of it's probably more zone where there is a feel, which he knows how to run routes versus zone. But I think you match it up with how do you match that with what the defense is doing, which can be unique and different every week, versus just saying, hey, go run this route versus air on zone, pretended zone. So him having more and more experience and more film to put on tape to watch himself and watch us run specific routes, you know, whether it is a shallow cross or whether it is, you know, some type of deep cross or a sail route, all of those have a feel. And I think he's done a great job of really creating his own way and also watching these older guys, guys like Kelsey and Quez and these others, teach him how to get better at it.
Would you have been comfortable with Pat going to him with the ball, say early on that third down play, the last touchdown of the game in Vegas the other day? Would you have been comfortable with that early in the season?
Probably not right away early in the season because we didn't know what he could do. But now you have more volume, more investment in seeing what he's doing. So it's probably fair to say not just Rasheed, but any rookie at that point in time early in the year, unless they're really doing things on another level, which is rare in OTAs and training camp. At that point in time, they're still trying to get lined up right in those plays. Now all that's happening, and you know, you see he's playing more, and he's getting more reps, and with that comes more trust, more experience, and so you just kind of put it all together.
Where is Isaiah Pacheco as a receiver?
Mm-hmm. He does a good job. He's number one. He's always playing fast. He's got great hands, and that's a part of this offense, being able to have value in a running back that can run between the tackles, run outside, but yet be a threat downfield and not just on whether it's read routes, flat routes, intermediate routes. So I like where he's at.
Last couple of games, short yardage, you guys have run it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think your line is?
It's been better. It's been more effective, and whether you run or pass, we would just want to convert it. So you guys know that that's been an emphasis for us. We always try to attack where we think we can be a little bit better and keep enhancing where we think we're playing well. But that's for sure. It's nice to be able to get those, whether you run or pass. And I think a lot of it does come down to a mindset. There's going to be times when they make good plays, but in the end, we gotta execute, and we want to put them in good positions as coaches, and then we just gotta try to execute.
Earlier in the season, Rasheed said that he did not want to be a robot. He wanted to be able to go out there and play free.
Mm-hmm.
Can you sense that? Is he coming along faster than you guys expected?
He's probably come along right where we need him to come along as far as that part. No wide receivers, no quarterback, no player in general wants to play like a robot. When you're learning the offense, you probably feel like you are because you're trying to understand when you look at a playbook and you see a line in the playbook, you want to run it like that. But then there's a little, you know, the more and more you start running plays, you have less robot to you, and he's just having more plays, which allows him to say, okay, hey, I've run this play 7 times, and now I can put my little feel to it, which is not being a robot, versus early in the year, you haven't ever run it, so you're going to run that line.
Yeah, in postgame, he said that he told Patrick, this is what I ran in college. Can we try to do it that way?
Sure. Sure, yeah, and absolutely, and I think that's the beauty of Coach Reid and this offense is you got to stay within the box, and you can't get too crazy with it, but there's a feel to it too. You don't want to box players in. You want to allow them to do what they do well, and then I'll second that with Patrick. Like, he's the best at wanting guys to be comfortable with what they do. And him and Kelsey have taken it to another level. That's like a different stratosphere, what they do. But younger guys coming in, new guys coming in, yeah, be comfortable. And then what that does is it makes Patrick adjust to some of that, and he's good. Now we just as coaches got to make sure we corral it all and say, don't get too crazy with this stuff.
Matt, at this stage of the season, what do you feel the offense's identity is?
Well, I would say it's a good mix right now of a run game that has improved the last couple of weeks, which helps the play pass. And then, within the pass game, we understand that the downfield shots hasn't been as explosive, but it's being efficient and scoring touchdowns, and then being really, really good in situational football. So I think a few weeks ago, you look at red zone, and we were struggling there a little bit. We weren't scoring points. We were having some turnovers. We were several weeks ago, a couple months ago, third down, third and short, 3rd and 1. So really locking in during the week of being good situationally, but scoring more points. And I thought we did that in the second half too. We know that was something we had to get better at, and we scored more points in the second half.
And I know you have a lot of experience with it. What makes that Lambeau experience so unique up there?
Well, I mean, it's such a huge part of football history, and just the everyone talks about the fan base. And my first game as a head coach was there on Monday night or Sunday Night Football, I think. So I'll never forget that experience and the electricity. But all players and coaches know it. It's a credit to them. I mean, when you're pulling in on the bus to the stadium, it's like a college town, and so it starts there. But it's just we all watch football growing up, and you all get to see what that environment's like. It's different in a good way, and just have a lot of respect for them.
What are the challenges their defense is going to provide
Yeah.
for you guys on Sunday night?
They, to me, when I look at their defense, they do a lot of different things. And I know Coach Barry, their defensive coordinator, has been there now for several years. I went against him in Chicago, and when he just got there. And but their players, they have really good players. And in his scheme, he does what they do well. And they're lengthy. They're bookends there on the edge with Gary and Preston Smith, and then with Clark on the inside. I mean, that front line there, and they got other guys too, but those are vet guys that have been there. It starts there with stopping the run, creating pressure for the quarterback, and then at linebacker, they're long and lengthy and they're fast. So the back end, they've had some injuries, but they got guys that you can see they know what to do, and they may get a couple vets back this week and may not, but. They do a lot of different things that can try to cross you up, and they can make it difficult. But it always goes back to just let's do what we do well, and let's make adjustments as we go within the game. But a lot of respect for that defense.
2 more. Nate, I'm sorry.
Matt, if I can take you all the way back, from Patrick sort of seeing a receiver for the first time and sort of projecting, I guess how good is he at that, and what was it like for you, I guess, back in early April when Patrick tells you, hey, I threw to Rasheed and he's in the draft and maybe we should, target him a little bit more, or at least put his input or his perspective on it?
Yeah, it's always valuable. Patrick is very much like a coach and a GM when he sees talent. And so when he's able to see these guys and see the talent they possess, and then it's a matter of saying, okay, what do they do well, and how do we help fit that into the offense? He has a great eye for that. Our coach is doing it. It's a credit to Brett Veach and his personnel department and Coach Reid for finding Rasheed. And, it does take time. And I think the exciting part that we look at it as a staff is this is just the beginning with him. And this is his rookie year, and we're seeing growth. We're seeing how to use him. But he can get a lot better, which is great. And I think that's what Patrick sees. That's what we see. And are there still going to be some places where he makes a mistake or where he drops a ball because he's thinking or something? Yeah. But when you see him catch a shallow and take it, whatever it was, 40 yards down the sideline for a touchdown, he's physical and he can do a lot of good things.
I know you only got 5 snaps out of Wanda Morris, but you got a chance to see him. What'd you see there, and what do you see in the practice? Where's he overall?
Yeah, I liked what Wanya did. I mean, coming in like that, those 5 snaps he had were good. They were physical. You could see that we saw that in college with him. So another young rookie that is right now getting mental reps all year long and is preparing himself the right way for that moment. And he came in and did a great job. And I think it's probably a lesson more than anything for all these guys. If you're suited up and you're there on that sideline, you better know what to do at any given moment. And when your time comes and that opportunity comes, try to open up some eyes. And I think he did that.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. All right. Take care.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Justin.
Good.
Go for Justin.
Cool.
If, you guys are halfway through your prep or whatever, what do you see with this Packers team you're going to face? Looks like they're kind of getting some confidence as the season goes along.
Yeah, I think they're developing really well. I think it's a whole new team than what we saw in the preseason last year. Jordan Love has been developing really nicely. Can see that all the mentorship he's taken from Rodgers is really starting to show on the field. Guy can throw the ball really well, and he's going through his reads and making the right throws. So they're rolling right now, so that's a good team.
Justin, what was the kind of the attitude of the defense when it was down? Team was down 14-0 in the first quarter the other day.
Yeah, it was just getting back to ourselves, settling the nerves a little bit. They came out and they jumped on us early, which is it's a divisional game, so they did some things to prepare, and they were ready to go and play. And then once we took that, we were able to settle back into who we are, offensively and defensively, special teams too. And then once we were able to settle our nerves, we were able to go out and be the dominant team that we know we can be. So it's been an emphasis this week to make sure that we start the game out that way.
Justin, what's impressed you most about Drew Tranquil?
Oh, man, to come into this defense and playing Mike Backer in all the different checks and coverages and responsibilities, getting the defensive line set the right way, making audibles on what coverages we're playing, where to send the pressures at based on the looks you're getting. It's a lot on the mental side of it, but then to also pair that with the physical ability to go in and attack centers, beat running backs on blocks, tackle tight ends, and sometimes guard receivers too. He's done a phenomenal job for us to be able to come in and do it, but that's the reason why we brought him here.
Yeah, what'd you see against the Raiders from him?
Guy was just solid, consistent, solid, made all the right checks, was fitting his gaps, was a solid tackler, didn't make any mistakes in the entire game, performed really well. And when you have your Mike Backer playing like that and you have other guys also playing to that level, good things tend to happen.
You played at Stanford and obviously Houston before Kansas City. Steve Spagnuolo, where do you see him and what do you make of him as just a football mind in general?
I mean, him and Coach Reid are right up there at the top, man. I mean, just all types. Like, it's fun to be a part of it and to learn from them, but it's just so dynamic in the adjustments they make week to week. Every week is different. You're able to create different, unique pressures to really give different looks to opposing teams so that way they never know what's really coming at them. This is, I say it all the time, one of the deepest playbooks, and it continues to get deeper because we're always putting in new plays. And just to have the guys go out and perform it. When we perform what Coach Spags and his staff game plan throughout the week, we play really well, man. And that's shown up this year because we have the right guys to go and do it. But just a hell of a coach, both on the field, but also his level of care and commitment to his players is also what makes him such a fun guy to play for.
What's Jordan Love look like on tape too?
I seen a stat earlier. It's kind of eerie how him and Rodgers had the exact same stats up until this point, down to like the amount of passing yardage. I thought that was interesting. But he's been developing really, really nicely. He's playing really well. He's playing at a high level right now. He can make all the throws. He can boot to his left. He can boot to his right. He can throw it downfield. He's smart enough to take the checkdowns when he needs to make the checkdowns. So he's playing well, and we're just going to have to try and get him off of his game.
Are you a football nerd where Lambeau Field is a big deal, or is it just another field for you?
I actually did training camp over there when I was with the Texans, and that was really cool. We got to do the bike ride down with some of the kids. That was really fun. So I didn't only play the quarter in that game. So this will be the first game we get to play all the way through. So I'm excited about it.
Any Anything else? All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Cool.
Justin.
Yep.
Appreciate it.